Hi, year one. Happy Wednesday. You've been seeing a lot of me today. Welcome to your geography lesson. I think we have quite a fun one. You might need an adult's help for the end of it because there's a fun little thing that you can do on Google Maps, but I'll show you it on the screen. And if you can get an adult or maybe an older brother or sister to help you, that would really help. And you can do it on any device. You can do it on an iPad or a phone or a computer. So I'm going to share the screen. And we'll get started. So today is the 3rd of February, 2021. We know that our big question is learning about where do I live? So we've talked about lots of different countries in the UK and how we live in the UK and how we live in the continent of Europe and planet Earth. We've been talking about that. Now we're going to explore the town we live in. Okay. So with our just checking questions, you can get a piece of paper and divide it into the 4. You can draw the cross, or you can write 1, 2, 3, 4 down the side, and that's where you're going to write your answers for these questions. So each question that I read, if you want to pause the screen right after, and then you can answer that question. It might be a bit difficult to remember if you listen to all 4 and then try and answer it. So pause the screen after one question. So question number 1. List the countries in the United Kingdom. So you're going to write down all the countries. There's 4 of them in the United Kingdom. Question number 2. Question number 2. True or false? A farm is located in the countryside. True or false? A farm is located in the country. Question number 3. Which animal would I not find on the farm? So I'm looking for the animal that you wouldn't find on the farm. Is it a horse, a cow, a dog, or a giraffe? Remember, we're thinking of farms in England that we learned about. So which animal would we not find on the farm? And number 4, true or false? Chicks come from eggs. True or false? Fantastic. I hope you all had a chance to write down your answers. Now we're going to have a look at them together. So, number 1, list the countries in the United Kingdom. I hope you have our country, England. Another one is Scotland. Northern Ireland. You have to have Northern Ireland because Ireland itself is its own country. That is not in the UK. And finally, the one by the sea, Wales. All those beautiful castles and the dragon on their flag. So you can give yourself a tick for each of those because we know there's 4 countries in the United Kingdom. True or false? A farm is located in the countryside. That is true. We know it needs lots of room. Farm needs lots of room for the animals to live. Number 3, which animal would I not find on a farm in England? That would be E, a giraffe. And number 4, true or false? Chicks come from eggs. That is true. Well done, and you're just checking. You can send that in with your work. Okay, so today we're going to be using 2 new words when we're talking about the place where we live. So word number 1 is rural. Rural. Can you have a go at saying that word? Rural. Now have a look at the picture beside the word rural. What do you see? What do you notice? Maybe you can guess what that word means. Well, I see fields, I see grass, I see some houses, but they're quite small, and a tiny little road. So I can see, it almost looks like a farm because I can see some animals in the field. So rural means a place that's in the countryside. So a rural settlement is where people live in the countryside. Now we have another word we're learning today called urban. Can you use that word? Urban. Have a look at the picture. So if rural means the countryside, what do you think urban is showing us? That's right, the city. So urban is talking about places that are settled in the city. You can see the great big buildings, and that's actually London, that picture of the city. So we have rural, which is the countryside, urban, which is the city. And we're going to be looking at those words today. So today we will be learning about and exploring the town that we live in. And before we get started, can you pause the screen and just tell me which country do we live in? And do you know what town we live in? Do you know the name of the town? So 2 things you need to answer. Which country are we in? And which town do we live in? If you said the country was England, well done. We're in England. And the town we live in is Reading. And last term when we did our history lesson, we learned all about Reading and the biscuit factory. So we know that we're in Reading. This map shows some of the major cities in the UK. Where do we live on this map? Where do we live? So remember from last week or the week before, we were down here near London. So we're in this area. So we're near London. We have another city quite near us. Bristol's not too far away. It's about 2 hours away. We have Birmingham, Cardiff. We're definitely a long way from Aberdeen. You can see that. It's very far away on the map. So we are closest to London on the map. A settlement is an area where people live. There are many different types of settlements in the UK. Some people live in tiny hamlets or small villages that only have a few houses. A village will sometimes have a small shop, a pub, and a church, a few houses, but not much else. So a village is very small. You can see in the picture. What do you notice? You can look at the picture and use some clues. We can see that there's lots of grass. It looks like there might be some farms around. We see some houses and buildings, but not very many. And I noticed that those houses and buildings do look quite old. And I think most villages in England are usually old. They're places that are a bit older. So you'll see some really interesting old buildings as well. A town is bigger than a village. So a village is the smallest. Then we've got a town, which is bigger. Towns have lots of houses, shops, banks, restaurants or cafes, and other facilities. So when we looked at this picture in class, we said, wow, look, you can see that the roads are a lot busier. They have buses and vans and cars. You can see people at the shops. It seems a lot busier than a village. So town is bigger than a village. We've got village, which is very small, and then a town is bigger. A city is the biggest type of settlement. Village, town, city. A city is the biggest type of settlement. Cities often have the same type of facilities as a town. So they'll have shops and banks and lots of houses and buildings and roads and restaurants, but they're bigger. And many cities in the UK have a cathedral, which is a very big, grand, special kind of church. So to be a city, most of them will have a cathedral, which is a really special church. So Reading is a town because we don't have a cathedral and we're a bit smaller than a city. London is a city. It's a very big city. Quiet villages and small towns that are in the countryside are known as rural areas. There's that word. Rural areas have lots of fields for farming. So can you pause the video and point to the picture that you think shows a rural area? Welcome back. Did you choose this picture in the top right corner? Well done. That picture does show a rural area. You can see there's lots of fields for farming, so it's in the countryside. Busy towns and cities are known as urban areas. Urban areas are areas that have been built up with roads and buildings instead. So at one point, a long time ago, they would have been probably fields and a bit more like the countryside, but they've been built up with lots of buildings and roads. So we don't see the countryside anymore. It's not there anymore. So pause the video. Can you point to the urban picture? The picture that's showing us urban. That's right. Did you guess the bottom one? You can see lots of buildings and lots of roads. An urban area. Do we live in a quiet rural area or a busy urban area? What do you think? How would you describe the area that we live in? So you can pause the video, have a chat with an adult or an older sibling, or you can just share it with me. Do we live in a quiet rural area or a busy urban area? How would you describe the area that we live in? And welcome back. So if you said that we live in quite a busy urban area, that's a really good guess for Reading. Reading's quite busy. When we looked back at those pictures of the town, we saw that it was quite busy. This isn't a picture of Reading Town Centre, but it looks like it could be if that bus was green. So you can see there's lots of shops, the roads are quite busy, there's people out and about, there's restaurants, cafes, lots of buildings. So we are in quite an urban area. And it's quite busy. Well, right now, if you went to town, it wouldn't be very busy, but that's because nothing's open. But if you've ever been to town, when town is open, you'll see, especially on a Saturday, that it can get it's quite a busy area. So today, we're going to answer a few questions about the area that we live in. And then we're going to draw a picture of the area that you live in. So I've shown you this is also a guide to help with any adults helping with work at home. So our first challenge is, can you draw a picture of the place you live in? So right at the bottom of our page, there's a space to draw a picture of the place you live. So think, what do we need to see? If we're drawing kind of the town center, we need to have buildings, we need to have roads, we need to have cars and buses on those roads, maybe a restaurant or a cafe. So lots of different things we need to put in our picture and label. Then the next challenge is, can you draw a picture and can you answer those questions with maybe an adult's help to guide you? Now, the Gold Star Challenge, to be the most independent, is can you draw your picture and answer the questions independently? And I'm going to read the questions to you, so you'll have a bit of help from me on the screen, but see if you can pause the video yourself and record your answers maybe without an adult's help. It's okay to ask for help if you need it, but if you can try and do it by yourself, that's an even better challenge. So down at the bottom is where we're going to draw our picture. And I'm going to take you sentence by sentence. So what I'll do is probably just number them to make it a bit clearer for you to see. And that way, when you pause the video, you can know exactly which sentence you're on instead of getting lost. There we go. So we've got some numbers now. So sentence number 1, the place I live in is called, and you have to write the name. So what is the place that we live in? Do you remember the name of our town? If you remember it, write it on the line, please. And remember, if it's a name, what kind of letter does it need to start with? Capital letter, that's right. So you can pause the video and have a go at solving that. Number 2, the place I live in is, and you've got some choices of words below. So we've got very, quite, which means a little bit, mostly. So very, a lot, quite, mostly. Busy or quiet? So is the place we live in very busy or very quiet? Or is it quite busy or quite quiet? So you have to have a think. You all live in different neighborhoods. So you might have, some of you might live in a very busy neighborhood and some of you might live in a very quiet neighborhood. So there's no right answer. It's just for you to think about where you live and answer the question for what you think of your neighborhood. Number 3, there are some buildings where I live. There are lots of buildings where I live. There are a few buildings where I live. Or there are big buildings where I live. So you have to choose which one makes sense for where you live. Are there some buildings? Are there lots of buildings? Are there a few buildings? Or are there big buildings? So you choose the right answer for you. Number 4, there are fields where I live. So let's look at our choices about fields. There are no fields where I live. There are a few fields where I live. There are some fields where I live. Or there are lots of fields where I live. So you have to think about where you live. Are there no fields, a few, some, or lots of? And that's how you're going to answer it. Think about where you live. If you live across from a park, you might say there are a few fields because you'd see some fields at the park. So if you're near a park, that would be a good answer. Number 5, there are busy roads where I live. So you have to choose. There are no busy roads. There are a few busy roads. There are some busy roads, or there are lots of busy roads. So have a think. There are no busy roads. There are a few busy roads. There are some busy roads, or there are lots of busy roads. Think about where you live. I know near the school we have quite a few. We have lots of busy roads around us. So have a think. If you get a bit stuck, it is okay to ask an adult for a bit of help. But I want you to do the writing yourself, please. And then the super fun creative part, you get to draw a picture of the area where you live. To make it even better, if you don't know your address, you could ask an adult in your house what your address is and draw a picture of your house or your flat where you live. That would make it even more special. I can't wait to see your pictures. I love seeing your pictures. And I can tell you've been taking a lot of time at home to do them. So that's your challenge for today. Now, the really interesting thing that I want to show you that I thought you could do at home, maybe with an adult, is, let me just stop sharing. I'm going to see if I can share my other screen. I haven't tried to do this yet, but I think I can. There we go. So I'm going to share my internet browser with you. So you will need an adult to help you. And you can see it right at the top bar. I've chosen Google Maps. So if you click on Google Maps, it's going to take you to Reading. And right up here at the top, you can search. So you could search the Palmer Academy. So 70 Northumberland Avenue is the Palmer Academy. And I can see a little, do you see the little red dot on the screen? That's that little flag in our map. The red one is where we've tried to find. So with Google Maps, what you can do is go down to the bottom of the screen and you'll see this little orange man or this little yellow man. You can pick him up and you can drag him and put him right on top of that lovely, oh, he's not working, that lovely red spot. Put it, oh, he's not working. Why doesn't he want to go? Oh, look, he'll go over here. Let's try him again. This is really like being at school, isn't it? Not sure why he won't go to the Palmer Academy. He was doing it earlier when I went. Let me try and go to, we can go somewhere else. Let's go to the Barbers because we know the Barbers is nearby. So if we spin around, you can see, oh, I recognize this road. Do you recognize this road with its red bricks? You keep going, you can jump. And I bet you might even recognize some of these shops. Perhaps they're shops you might pass on your way home from school. And I bet if we keep going, if we keep jumping ahead, we might just be able to find the Palmer. I think I see it. Do you see it? See that green gate? Oh, it must have been summer when this picture was taken. It's a nice sunny day. So inside that gate, just back here, we have our school, the Palmer Academy. Now we can search lots of different places. Let's see if we can find Central Park. Central Park's not too far from the school. So again, if you want to get there, you just get that little orange man, you pop him down where he'll land. He'll go anywhere for us. Don't know why he's not going. Oh, I think he needs to be on a street. That's the problem. I can help you with that. That's the problem. So do you see when I take, your computer might not do this, but mine at school wasn't doing this. But if yours has the same problem as mine. So you take your little man, and do you see where all the blue streets are lit up? So you can put your little man, as long as you have a blue street, you can put him there. So, oh, look, he's gone. Oh, let's see. Let's go to Reading School. We'll go up here on the map. We can spin around. You can say, oh, look, there's the Reading School. So you can see the big field for the Reading School. I really want to show you Palmer Park because we learned about Palmer Park when we learned about Reading. So let's see if we can find it. Okay, so there's Palmer Park. So if I go over here, will it let me go? Will it let me see? There we go. I can land on this little circle and I think it will let him land. Amazing. We're in Palmer Park. So if we spin around, we can see Palmer Park. It's quite a big park. And I know there's a stadium at this park, but I can't quite seem to find it. So we're in Palmer Park. Let's see if it will let us go to the woods. So at school, we talk about how Stevie likes to go to the woods. Let's see if we can find Sulham Woods. Now it's quite big. Maybe we want to find the car park. That might let us in. There we go. Let's see if we can take him there. Okay, there he is. Oh, so this is where Stevie likes to go. So you can see not too far from Reading, there's all kinds of woods to go explore. This is where Stevie likes to go for her walk. So we can go to the Sulham Woods. I wonder where else we could go. Should we go to the town center? See if we can go to town. Reading Town Center. I think I'm going to have to choose a place. Let's choose St. Mary's. Here we go. So I'm going to take my little man from the bottom. You pull him up. You might see lots of streets lit up. Let's see if I can find that. Metro Bank. Let's go right there. See where he lands. Oh, do you recognize this place? Spin it around. You might recognize that church in town. Remember, where you click on the screen is where it will let you go. So here we go. There's a little cafe because we're in a town, so there's a cafe. And you can keep going. I think now we're at the back of Waterstones. Might have to go back. See if we can get to town. Let's go back out on the street. That's where the bus stop is. You might take that bus if you're coming back up to Whitley. It's a big car park at the Oracle. Oh, I bet we're going to go by the Oracle in a minute. Let's see if you recognize it. Do you recognize that building? Have you been to the House of Fraser at the Oracle? I bet you'll recognize. Oh, I bet you'll know where this is. That's right. There's the town center. So you've had a very quick tour of Google Maps with me. We've seen some places in Reading. Remember, if you are trying to go on Google Maps and your computer is working like mine, for your little man to work to take you somewhere, you need to have it either lit up with a blue line or those little blue circles you can also put your character down on. But as we learned today, if you just try and pop him anywhere, if there's a street, he'll go, but if you just try and pop him anywhere and he doesn't work, there probably isn't a place for you to be. So see if you can find your house or your address. See if you can find the school. See if you can find the town center or a park. Maybe you can find Palmer Park Stadium. Maybe you want to go to Majeski Stadium. So you can have some fun with that, searching on Google Maps where you want to go in Reading. And I can't wait to see your work from today. You don't have to go on Google Maps, but it's just something a little bit extra that you can do if you want to do some exploring of Reading in the lockdown. And I will see you tomorrow. So make sure you send in a picture of your work. I can't wait to see it, and I can share some of the really nice work with everyone. So bye.